Hello everybody and welcome to TV8's annual basketball preview show. My name is Mike Martin and joining me on the set are Chris Wright and Dave Gallianetti. And Dave, I always talk about Lakeland College and stuff like that, and you are now the Director of Communications there, and Director of Media, I should say. Communications. But Stu Hoffensberger always calls me the guru, but really you are the guru of basketball in Sheboygan County.
Well, thanks, Mike. I used to be. I don't know if I am anymore. I worked at the Sheboygan Press for 7 years and covered sports for 4 of those years. And even when I got out of sports writing and covered schools, they still dust me off every once in a while, kind of like you guys dust me off every year and come on here. And now I guess I sort of pretend to know a little bit about high school basketball. I've got things like the yearbook, and I pick your guys' brains. So, you know, I'll try to sort of sound intelligent, but don't be surprised if I lean on you this year instead of you leaning on me.
Now, Chris, you know, I always refer to you as the coach, and you do coach baseball at Sheboygan North, but you have a new position over at North this year.
Well, I don't know if it's new. It might be old.
Yeah, it's kind of...
I am back at North and doing a little freshman work, and I would like to thank Coach Desitel for allowing me to coach some freshman basketball. There's been a couple opportunities over there, and boy, doing all this talking and watching it, you always kind of get the itch to go back in, and this is kind of a nice opportunity. I can kind of coach the freshmen, and after the games are over, I can work a couple TV games as well. And
running so here I am with your tie crooked.
Yeah,
getting ready to do your interview.
But now, Chris, are you better at talking or coaching?
We'll find out. Talk to me in March.
Okay.
Our show tonight, we're going to be interviewing Dan Koopman from South and Tom Desitel from North, Brett Flipsy from Christian, and Todd Decker from Lutheran. And we're going to discuss the conference races at the end of the show. We'll give our predictions, guys. We also want to talk about who we think might be the all-city selections. We also want to talk a little bit about underclassmen. That'll have an impact. And then when we come back, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Dave is going to be talking to Todd Decker, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm sick of dealing with you. I'm sick of
I work 6 days a week.
Who
do you think you
Stand
are?
up straight.
Don't you ever talk back to me again! You just shut up!
What are you crying about?
What a child learns about violence, a child learns for life. Teach carefully. We can show you how. Act Against Violence. Call 877-ACT-WISE for a free brochure.
This phone's taken.
Son, will this help you?
Maybe the last thing you would do for somebody should be the first.
Thanks. Hey, I appreciate it.
A message from the Credit Union Foundation and your hometown credit union.
Welcome back. We're going to start our coaching interviews with Sheboygan Lutheran. We've got Todd Decker joining us. Todd, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Last year, the Crusaders finished tied for 3rd in the Central Lakeshore Conference with Kohler, and lost in the sectional semifinals to Randolph, that terrific Randolph team who went on to win the Division IV state championship. Nick Leibum, obviously a big part of what Lutheran did last year, and he finished as the all-time scoring leader in Sheboygan County history, as many of you basketball fans know. This year, Lutheran picked by the yearbook and the press to finish third again in the conference. Todd, I want to start off by talking a little bit about Nick. He's obviously gone, but gone physically, but not gone in your hearts, of course. He's a starting point guard for Concordia University down in Mequon this year. As a coach, how do you prepare for losing a player of Nick's caliber, and how do you help your kids take the next step and say, you know, Nick's not here anymore, it's time for other people to step up? How do you handle that?
Well, Nick was great for us the 4 years that he was here at Lutheran High, but we have to move on, and that's why I'm kind of challenging our players. Nothing against Nick, but it's a new year. Hopefully what the players gain from Nick is the work ethic and just getting after it every practice. He set the bar very high for our team every year, and last year especially, and I hope that our players learn from that. Summer ball, getting in the gym as much as possible, and then just that winning attitude and getting things going from the beginning of practice to the end, and then carrying that on to a game. And what I think we'll miss the most is, and what I'm looking for as a coach, is who's going to take that last second shot for our team, and who's going to just maybe get that steal that we need, because that's what Nick's specialty was, and we'll miss that. But I think our players are prepared for it, and we've had a good start so far without him, and our intensity level has really been really good this year from the start, and I think that's hopefully that what we learned from Nick.
Clearly, even though Nick is gone, the cupboard is certainly not bare. You returned three very solid seniors in Casey Stelmakowitz, Nate Dillman, and Drew Powers. Talk a little bit about their development over the summer and what kinds of things you're expecting out of the three of them this season.
Well, starting with our center, Nate Dillman, he really worked hard this summer. He really dedicated himself to the weight room and a little bit quicker feet, and we're looking for big things from him. He was with us now for 3 years. I had him as a sophomore also on our varsity squad, and I think his athletic ability is going to be tough for teams to match up against. And he's a leader. He's our captain, voted captain, and he's shown some leadership skills. We want him to be a little bit more consistent handling the basketball, and with his size, we want to take advantage of that. And his quickness too, and we want to get him on the open court a little bit defensively so we can do some trapping with him and his long arms. And so he's been a real leader this year, and that's what we're looking for with Nate. Drew Powers, I think he really took off at the end of the year last year. His shooting really worked at it this summer, and he's been a leader, also voted captain. And nothing against him, but that was a real pleasant surprise for me that the players really looked at Drew, that he has to be a leader, and he's taking that on at practices, maybe some dull times or something where he's driving these kids and being shown by example that you have to work really hard. And he's really chomping the bit for this season, and we're really looking forward to some good things from him. Excellent shooter. His range is even a little bit better this year, and I think that's going to be hard. And he's up to 6'6", so we got two 6'6" kids. Then you get Casey Stelmakowitz. Well, last year he was a very good compliment to Nick, but you know, Casey wants that role too now that Nick kind of had. He's never going to be another Nick Leipom, and that's what I told him. He has to be Casey Stelmakowitz. And he's got some skills where he's a kind of a slasher type basketball player, but yet if teams fall off of him, he's got that three-point range. So those three guys I'm real excited about to working them, and they had the experience last year, and hopefully they're going to show that leadership. And I know Casey has from the beginning this year, but we're trying to be able to mix those guys' talents in together with some other incoming players, and a real fine nucleus, and a coach likes having that.
Speaking of the incoming players, talk to us a little bit about some of the other players that you expect to step forward this year and that fans are going to get to know.
Well, I'm really looking forward to this year because we're going to be able to go real deep. I mean, we've had one game already this year, and we've had 10 guys in by the first quarter, and that's really good. Can we maybe do a little bit more pressing, a little bit more pressure, keep some fresh guys in? So I've never had that luxury. And that's a real nice thing for a coach to have. Nick Rint is one person who will be coming off the bench. Adam Menzer, a senior, he's real athletic, and he's going to help us out this year. Phil Voss gave us some solid minutes last year, and he'll be our defensive stopper. And he goes court to court, end line to end line, 32 minutes just going, and we need a hustle guy like that. You tell him to stop somebody defensively. That's really nice to have, and I'm really looking forward to that. We have another 6'6" kid who's a junior, Josh Lindsay, and he'll be really helping us out. And I think I'm really looking forward to his solid play, and he gives us some beef and some physical stuff inside, so he'll be helpful for us. Ryan Rush, another senior with the experience and his work ethic, I think is going to be real helpful for us. Then we have a freshman coming in, and that's John Decker, and he's going to cause some problems for teams because he's a little over 6'4", and he's got some skills that I think are going to help us out this year.
You had a great postseason run last year. Ran into an amazingly gifted Randolph team that gave everybody fits, not only at the Division IV level. What can your kids take away from that experience, that postseason run in general, just the thrill of winning a regional championship and getting to the sectional, and maybe specifically going up a team that was as good as Randolph? What do you hope your kids will take away from that experience?
Well, just that experience for them as basketball players and the hard work that it is to be a basketball player, and especially in this town because we have so many great teams in the county, and that they can play with these teams, and they want to prove that. We always have to go up against the Oostburgs, and going against Randolph in that sectional game, I think was a great experience for us. The hunger, I know Drew talks about what an experience that was. He wants to get there. Casey the same way. Just have that pride as a basketball player that we worked that hard last year. Let's do it again this year. Let's not make it a one-year deal. Even though we're moved up to Division III this year, the boys are really looking forward, but we know we have a tough conference. So that's hopefully we can gain from a little bit of that experience and playing against some quality players. And we did a lot of that this summer too in some of our tournaments that we played.
We've got a couple minutes left. Let's talk about the Central Lakeshore Conference a little bit. You mentioned Oostburg, who it seems like has won that conference for about 1,000,000 years in a row. You've got Kohler that's going to come back with another solid team, but clearly you guys are in the position where you're in the mix this year. With Oostburg, how do you get the kids mentally to compete with them? Obviously, they want to give their best effort, but there's got to be that mental block, perhaps, that man, these guys just seem to win this conference every year. Well, how do you talk to your kids about that?
Kevin does a nice job. I don't know what type of water they have in Oostburg with the size that they have, but he's an excellent coach and he does a nice job for Oostburg. And it was tough and it's a good challenge, and we want to be like the program like that, and our boys want that challenge. I think the CLC is going to be tough. There's a lot of good teams. Kohler, you have to be ready to play every night, and that's what's really fun about the conference, and that's what we're looking forward to. And we're telling our boys, be prepared every night. Otherwise, you let one slip away, and then next thing you know, you're really looking uphill for the whole season. So it's an exciting conference.
It is. Todd, thanks for joining us. Good luck the rest of this season. Folks, stick around. When we come back, we're going to go across town and check out what's happening at Sheboygan Christian this season.
Every time an adult gives up on our kids, every time we surrender to the belief that their future is out of our hands, another child is left behind. I'm General Colin Powell, and I don't believe in giving up. That's why I'm asking you to join America's Promise. Log on to americaspromise.org or give us a call. Whoever you are, wherever you are, you can do something important. Pull your weight.
Before you know it, she talks. Before you know it, she walks. Before you know it, she knows you. Before you know it, she has a heart. Before you know you're pregnant, when your baby's no bigger than a grain of rice, before she's a twinkle in your eye, that's when you need to take folic acid every day. After that, it's too late to prevent some serious birth defects. Folic acid now, before you know it.
They won't leave you for someone younger. They won't notice you've gained weight. They won't fire you. They won't talk about you behind your back. All they'll ever do is love you. Find the love of your life. Visit Petfinder at aspca.org.
You know, we sing for millions of girls, but helping out in schools, that's the real deal, baby.
I know our love can multiply.
I'm the cute one, you know what I'm saying?
Have you ever been backstage before? Cause you're the excel.
I think you'll find that gravity is key in what I do.
Once was one, but now we're two. I'm spinning out of
Oh.
Joining me is Brett Flipsy from Sheboygan Christian. Brett, last year you had a 9-12 record. You're 8-8 in conference, which was a good year for you guys. You have the paper has you picked for 4th in the league and Lutheran for 3rd. In talking a little bit off camera, it sounds like you're going to have a pretty exciting team this year.
Yeah, I expect good things from this squad. We've got 6 seniors back from last year's squad and 5 very capable juniors coming in. It's an 11-man team, which is 11 deep. 1 to 11 is interchangeable.
You've had 2 weeks now with your team, and you've had a chance to look at them. I know you did a 4-team scrimmage, and you did quite well with that. What did you learn about your team?
I learned we're going to be very scrappy. It's going to be an exciting year for us. We're going to really try to set the tempo, both defensively and offensively, push the ball. One thing I learned about my team is, as good as that is, you could have 30 steals, but you could also have 25 turnovers. This is a group that we're not the strongest one-man offensively. I mean, the team has got to really work together to establish the tempo defensively and offensively.
Last year you had mentioned, I know Chris did the interview, and you had mentioned that you were hoping the success that the soccer squad had would translate into a good season with your basketball team. Now, this past year, they had a state championship. Obviously, you'd love those successes to translate into more basketball victories. Talk a little bit about the soccer program and how you hope it to translate into soccer or basketball successes.
Sure. We've got a great soccer program at Christian High. If everyone in the area doesn't know about it yet, they soon will. They've gone to state, I think, 3 of the last 4 years. And one thing about our basketball program is we get very good athletes. I wouldn't call them all the greatest basketball players, but very good athletes. And this group is no different. Last year, we started 4 guys that didn't play soccer. This year, only 1 player on the whole squad didn't play. So we're basically bringing the whole soccer team onto the basketball floor this year.
Who are some of those kids from the soccer program that you feel are going to be contributors in basketball? And also talk a little bit about in what ways are they going to contribute?
Yeah, we've got David Sneller is back from last year's squad. He's a 3-year player for us. He's played from a sophomore on up. And he's going to be one of our key men this year. Steve Hunink was the goalie from this year's team. He's a junior. He's a very good prospect. He's a 6'5" shooting guard. So he brings a lot of effort to us every night. Justin Moeller, Mike Uppenier were the offensive players for the soccer team. We're looking at those guys to be the defensive players on our basketball team.
You had mentioned again that last year David Sneller, he's a 3-year starter, one of the most experienced players in the league this year, had to play outside, and this year he's moving back inside.
Yeah, as a sophomore, he was our post player, had a very good sophomore year. And last year we had a 6'7" player that we put in the post and moved David to the wing, and I think it hurt his game a little bit. He didn't adapt that well to playing on the wing, and we've got him back in the post this year, which is going to really strengthen. It's going to go to his strengths. So if we can utilize him in the middle the way we should, it could be a good year for us.
Most of our fans know that you are a former player at Christian, and your coach was Jack Tooney. And Jack obviously did a good job when he was there. He coached for many years and had some very successful teams. How has his influence affected you?
Jack Tooney was an outstanding coach, as everyone in the county probably knows. Great record, had some great teams at Christian High when we were there. And he's influenced me greatly. I still go out to eat with him on occasions and pick his brain a little bit. A defensive-minded coach, and he's really influenced me great. I've taken a little bit in my coaching from all the coaches that I played for, and Jack was certainly one of them, and another one was my college coach. And they're both different coaches, but you got to pick a lot from both of them.
One of the things that seems to surface every so often is the idea of the 4 high schools in Sheboygan playing a 4-team tournament, which is pretty popular nowadays. South just got done with theirs, and North is going to be running their holiday tournament. What are your thoughts on a citywide kind of 4-team format tournament?
Being the small guy in the city, we'd like to see that. I'm not sure that all the bigger schools would like to see that because we have nothing to lose.
Correct.
But I really would like to see that. Again, we get to play some better competition and really step it up in the city. And if we've got nothing to lose. If we knock off North, South, or Lutheran, we look great. So why not? Let's do it.
Yeah, really. I've got a question down here about what type of offense and defense you play, and you've talked a little bit about the offensive side and a little bit about the defensive side, but go into a little more depth about what you're going to do on offense. We already mentioned about Sneller moving to the inside, and then also talk a little bit about defense.
Okay. At Christian High, we don't have the numbers. So one thing I see is key is to keep as a program, to keep your defense the same. I mean, really work on a defense. Offense can change from year to year depending on the players you have. This is a year where, like I said, we're 11 deep, and we can really set the tempo. So this year, without giving everything away, we are going to push the ball. We are going to run and gun.
So that kind of covers the offensive side of the ball. Does that going to impact then the type of defense you play also?
We're going to be a pressure defense team. It doesn't mean we're not going to play zone, but we are going to press a lot. We are going to play our base zone. Our base defense is going to be man-to-man. But we will change it up a little bit. But those will be trapping zones and we're trying to get some steals and set the tempo.
One of the things that our fans may not know is that you're not a teacher. You have an outside job, and those obviously translate into a different set of circumstances than maybe a coach who's gets done with the end of his teaching day and then he goes to the gym and works with his group. How do you manage to balance family and job and the coaching duties?
It's very difficult, but it gets done every year.
It was a problem tonight.
Yeah, it was a problem. Me and my family have worked it out where basketball is important, and my family knows that, and they give me the time, and my work, my company enjoys that I coach. They think that's great to be out in the community working with young kids.
You didn't mention anything. I did show you the list of questions, but I've got down here, before we talk about the race, are there any issues that come to mind, either on a local level, or like a conference level, or even on a state level, that you'd like to see change, like maybe the number of games that you play, or something on that nature? Being
that we're in the CLC and you're basically limited to the amount of non-conference games, I'd like to see more games added. I would not like to see another division added once we get to state. It got too watered down when we were in WSA, where there was only 20 teams in Division 4, and I'd like to see the state championships be an actual state championship in your division. If we can't ever make it there, that's fine. But when you do win it, it's great.
It's special. Obviously, then you are or you do enjoy the changeover from WSA to the WIA. You think that's a positive?
Definitely.
We got a couple minutes left. Did you want to say something else about that?
Well, I enjoy the conference we're in right now. Not that I didn't enjoy the conference we were in when we were in WSA, but the coaches and the players, I really respect the CLC from Oostburg on down. Oostburg's the team to beat every year, but on down, the coaches are excellent. The players have been very good, accepting Lutheran and Christian into the CLC.
Probably the best part about the whole deal is you don't have to make all those long trips to all the other schools.
Yeah, that's.
We've got a minute left, Brett. Let's talk a little bit about the conference, and it seems pretty much unanimous that Oostburg is, picked the winner. Like I mentioned before, you're picked 4th with Lutheran 3rd. What are your viewpoints on the conference? Who else do you expect to see challenge Oostburg, and can they be overtaken?
I would like to say don't count us out. don't put us in the middle of pack, too early. Oostburg, again, is large. I mean, they are top to bottom. They are a big team. Can anyone beat them? Yeah. I mean, Lutheran showed you that 2 years ago. It is very difficult, but they're very beatable. I mean, Kohler's is a team right behind them. I think we're right there. Lutheran's right there. Howard's is very athletic. Cedar Grove has picked up a 6'8" kid, and that'll help out their guards. So any team on any given night can beat Oostburg, can beat most of the teams in the conference, and don't let your guard down, because you could be on the outside looking up and
all of a sudden be on the short end.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Brett, for stopping in. When we come back, Dan Koopman is going to be interviewed by Chris Wright, so stay tuned for that.
This is the story about a group of kids who volunteered.
Doing something nice for someone. We fixed stuff. Did some art projects with the kids. We fixed up his house. We worked in the woods. Cleaned up the park.
Did something for the planet.
We just did it.
No other reason. And you know what? It was great.
At first, they didn't know each other.
Well, that didn't last long.
This guy is really funny.
These are my new friends.
Are you into it?
Call 4-H or check out our website at areyouintoit.com.
Properly inflating my tires burns less fuel and saves me money on gas. Yeah, I'm saving Mother Nature from pollution, but more importantly, she saved me $11. Ow!
Environmental defense. Get green.
By keeping my car regularly tuned, I save money on gas and repairs. That also means cleaner air. Feels good to help save the cash, planet.
Environmental defense. Get green. For more tips, go to getgreen.com.
Kids aren't afraid of other kids. Or people with different colored skin. That's because kids know there are other things. Worse things. Bigger things to be afraid of. Like monsters from outer space! Remember, friends come in all colors.
Mr. Johnson, it's time to start saving.
This savings wake-up call is brought to you by your friends at Choose to Save.
I am sick of this. I'm sick of dealing with you. I'm sick of...
I work 6 days a week.
Who do you think you
Stand
are?
up straight.
Don't you ever talk back to me again! You just shut up!
What are you crying about?
What a child learns about violence, a child learns for life. Teach carefully. We can show you how. Act against violence. Call 877-ACT-WISE for a free brochure.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Coach Koopman from Sheboygan South. Nice season last year, Coach. I believe it was 14-8, and I saw one thing said 13-9. Tough tournament loss at North last year. Could have, 2 more seconds, you make a layup, and you're going on to sectionals. Can you carry that winning spirit into this season?
Well, I definitely think we can, Chris. I know that the kids definitely started to believe in things last year, and I know it was a tough loss at North, but I think a lot of things carried over from that. A lot of things was I think the kids kind of found out we can compete with teams at that level, I think, and I think going into this season, there's no doubt that I think that the kids are ready to keep that up. I think that was a big step last year, and I think they're ready to continue. I really do.
Okay, most of us already know that you lost your A team last year with Aubrey and Sorensen and Andy Prisland, and you lost a couple other nice kids too, Maury Vriki and Marcus Lindemann. Those were nice athletes. Well, it sounds like a lot of big shoes to fill.
Well, there is a lot of big shoes to fill. I think if you look at it, I think we're looking at 35, 36 points of scoring from last year that we have to find this year, and then. And people always forget about those role players on a team. And too, you've coached a long time, and you know that kids like Marcus Nindemann and Brian Schultz and Maury, kids that would set the screens and get these guys open and get the rebounds, those guys are just invaluable. And one of my biggest concerns, I think we can find some scoring this year. But I tell you, I hope that we don't miss those role players that we had last year, because I know those guys were invaluable, and I know Aaron and Aubrey and Andy did a great job scoring. But you know too, you need those other kids to do the dirty work. So we're going to miss that whole bunch. You bet you we are.
Yeah. You're starting off the season a little short this year. You don't have Tim Stubbe and Alan Conrad, Scott Murphy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about their injuries, and when do you expect them back?
Well, yeah, as soon as possible, I hope. Tim's out at least until Christmas, probably. We're hoping we have a game over Christmas. We're hoping we can get him practicing that week of Christmas and get him back full time. He's most people know broke his collarbone and injury the very last football game of the year. Alan, we're hoping Christmas too. His injury is a little bit different. His is something that he had an operation on his wrist, and that needs to heal too. So that's a little more extensive than probably what Tim's is with cracked collarbone. We're hoping we'd him at Christmas. We don't really know. He's back and forth with checkups and stuff. Scott, we were really worried about Scott being out for a while too. He had a pretty serious groin pull. He's been practicing this week though, and I anticipate him playing this week, for the Manitowoc games. So we're going to be down those two, and going to miss those two guys. But we're glad to have Scott back. We need his size and his scoring, and he should be ready to go, I think, this week.
Yeah. I know you're counting a lot on Jacob Wilson and Nick Phelan this year. What do they bring to the table for you?
Well, some experience, and that's both of those guys. Were in there and played the tough games for us last year. Jake is, I like Jake. Jake spent some nice time in the off season on his shot and has improved that a lot. And last year, I think probably his outside shooting was a little bit of weakness, on his game. So we're looking forward to him. His shot is a lot better. I think he's going to be a little bit more of an outside threat this year. We're looking for Nick again to be one of our main scorers this year. And Nick brings, besides his scoring, Nick brings a nice floor game that sometimes people don't realize. He's an excellent passer. And does a nice job with tempo of the game and getting other people open and stuff. So we're going to be able to, I'm sure, utilize those guys. We're expecting big things with those guys this year.
Okay, you're 1-1 after the weekend. I saw you play on Friday night against a pretty physical Denmark team. I thought Anthony Vaughn stepped up pretty much, and he's not afraid to attack the offense, that's for sure.
Yeah, Anthony will let her go at just about any time. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, it was nice. Anthony's a transfer student, came in from Green Bay, and we've just really been pleased with him. He had a few grade problems coming in. His grades the first quarter were all A's and B's. He's really stepped up in the classroom and played some summer ball with us and continued all fall. And it's going to be a good addition to our team. Brings us a nice offense presence, and once he gets his defense going, I think can really be a factor. He's got a little more defensive minded at this stage of the game, but I have no problem with his offense, and he's going to be a good addition to our team. We're looking forward to having him.
Well, like I said, you had 1 up, 1 down. What else did you learn about your team last weekend?
Well, I was really concerned after Friday night. We did not play very well at all, and Denmark had a little bit to do with that. They were a nice ball team. I was afraid with not having any practice with Saturday we were going to be in trouble, and basically we just talked to the kids about what we needed to do, and they responded. And I think I really learned that when we do what we need to do as a team, that I think we can be pretty solid. I thought we beat a nice Kiel team. It was an overtime game, and certainly it was a fine line. Either team could have won that game. But I thought our kids really responded without any practice, and with just coming in and going through a walkthrough and talking to them. I was real happy with that. Did a great job.
Yeah. Any other Red Wings we should watch for this year?
Well, I tell you, we got to be looking at our seniors. Ryan Lubach has had a great first couple games for us. He's really stepped up. He's a totally different player than he was last year. Ryan was a role player reserve for us last year as a junior. Did a great job for us in practice, and really kind of saw some limited minutes. He's coming out. He's a lot more aggressive. He's a lot stronger. He's a lot confident. I don't know if you saw anybody that saw our game Saturday night. He made some huge shots for us. Stepped up when we needed somebody to step up in the offense, and really did a good job. So we're really looking forward. I hope Ryan continues, and I'm sure he will. He did a great job. Josh Zastro is our other senior this year. Josh, we're going to have to play small at times, and Josh is going to probably be at times for us, maybe the tallest player on the floor for us at times. And Josh might have to play out of position, but I don't think he's afraid of doing that. So far, Josh hasn't scored. His scoring's going to come around. He hasn't found his shot yet, or hasn't found his offense, but he's playing good defense for us, and he's gotten some big rebounds for us. And look for Josh to be a big contributor this year also.
Okay, we talked about those kids before that were hurt, and you say around Christmas time, and of course Scott will be coming back too. Are you worried a little bit about once you get everybody back together, it's going to take some time to gel?
I am worried about that a little bit. I think it is. I think it is going to take a little bit. Tim and Alan. They've been at practice every day. They're watching, but still, they've got to get into the flow. And Tim is especially a player that, if you've seen those quick point guards that are good penetrators, people have to get used to playing with players like that. And even Tim was with us this summer, but it's a new ball game now during the season. It's going to take a while. Tim does a good job of making everybody better, but people have to be ready for him because he does penetrate and he does pass the ball quick, and he does do things that people have to be ready for. So I am concerned that maybe once they get back, it's going to take a little while to get us going. You're right.
Yeah, and you're right. Yeah. That kid is quick.
He is quick, but sometimes people aren't ready for him, and that's right. That's what I'm a little concerned about.
Got one last question for you, Coach. What would you consider a successful year this year?
Well, the successful year, obviously, our goals were to be in the top half of the conference, like we were last year. Really, we are almost out of the regional last year. Didn't make it. North was better than we were, and we were hoping to get out of the regional last year. So again, that's really our goals this year, is to hopefully get to the sectional and to be able to play in the top half of the conference. And I think we could consider it a good year if we can get in that area and get to 13, 14 wins this year. I'd consider that a good year.
And let's look forward to seeing if that will happen. Hey, when we come back, Dave will be with Coach Dessatel from Sheboygan North.
We sing for millions of girls, but helping out in schools, that's the real deal, baby.
I know our love can multiply.
I'm the cute one, you know what I'm saying?
Have you ever been backstage before? 'Cause you're the exit.
I think you'll find that gravity is key in what I do.
Once was one, but now we're two. I'm spinning out of control.
Oh. Kids aren't afraid of other kids. Or people with different colored skin. That's because kids know there are other things. Worse things. Bigger things to be afraid of. Like monsters from outer space! Remember, friends come in all colors.
Mr. Johnson, it's time to start saving.
This Savings Wake-Up Call is brought to you by your friends at Choose to Save.
Welcome back to TV8's High School Basketball Preview Show. Now we're going to head to the north side of town. Joining us is Tom Dessatel, coach at Sheboygan North High School. Last year, Sheboygan North had another successful season, winning the Fox River Valley Conference Championship for the 13th time in Tom's career and advancing to the sectional finals, where they fell to eventual state runner-up Fond du Lac over at Oshkosh. The Raiders are once again picked by some of the preseason prognosticators to win the conference. Tom, this is a situation that your program has been in before, some lofty expectations coming into the season. Talk to us a little bit about how you approach those kinds of things and how you help your kids approach those expectations.
Well, lofty expectations can be a plus and a minus, and I want it to be a plus for our kids. I want them to maintain the same standards that they have in the classroom, and our kids are doing real well as of that first report card. So they know what high standards are, they know what their parents have as expectations for them there, and the gym is just an extension of the classroom for them, so I want them to maintain those same standards of pursuing excellence. As far as how I've looked at it down through the years, I think it's just something that we've learned to live with at North, and I think the alternative is something that we don't want to deal with, and that's having to look forward to climbing to 500 or something of that nature. So we enjoy the challenge.
Obviously, a lot of those expectations are based on the fact that you've got a really solid group of seniors coming back this year. Brad Wayner comes to mind, Chad Decker, Adam Schmitz, Matt Horsen. Talk to us a little bit about that senior class. What are you expecting out of those kids? What do they bring to the table for you this season?
Well, I think 1993 I said something to the effect that we have more seniors, we have as many seniors as Sunny Ridge or something of that nature, and looked for some high expectations from them. And seniors bring some maturity. They bring a sense of urgency to the scene. This is it for them. They don't get a second chance at it, and we want the juniors and the sophomores in our program to recognize that. And we do have some real good young people returning some experience. I think all coaches would rather have experience as long as they're talented. And I feel we have some talent right there. Unfortunately, only 5 can play and only 1 basketball. We've addressed that situation as all coaches need to do. And Brad Wayner, Chad Decker, both all-conference players from last year. Chad off the bench was honorable mention all-conference. Adam Schmitz was a starter for us last year. Matt Horsen, Greg Mance, Brandon Bogenschutz, and Brandon Dawn, Brandon Miller. The 3 Brandons are our 7 seniors this year, and we're looking for good things from them.
Talk a little bit about the underclass group. Who are some of the kids that are coming up that maybe gave you some minutes last year, or kids off the junior varsity team that fans can expect to see making a contribution this year?
You know, I can't brag too much about the varsity expectations or promise, because I think Coach Rudall down with the JVs has won conference championships the last 3 years, and that's no small undertaking, that's for sure. Jake Fry is hurt right now. He's laid up. He's had some early season surgery. He'll be back for us hopefully around Christmas. He hopes to be back. Shane Gruby also were players we brought up to the varsity at the end of last year for the tournament. Dave Soxy's probably shown more improvement than any of our young players. We have a new student, a transfer from South High School, A.J. Stewart, Andrew Stewart, and he's a 6'3" young man with promise. 2 sophomores that started on the JVs last year, Brian Herman and Kyle Tetschlag, are 2 players that we've talked to, and we've kind of explained, you know, they were very successful on the JVs last year, and in order for them to make an impact this year, they're going to have to be better than the seniors. But we want to get them involved. We don't want to waste their time. We want them to feel that they're developing, and we've got 14 players that are working pretty hard right now.
Obviously, you made it to the sectional final last year. What do you think this group, especially those seniors, can take away from that sectional experience and channel into this season?
Those extra games are invaluable. We've got a young man that stops by the gym almost every night, Eric Worth, that played on that team. He's a student right out here at the center. He was a starter on that team. Brad Wayner and Decker and Horsen and Schmitz all were out there on the floor at crunch time last year in the sectionals, and they can tell the young players as well as I can, or better than I can, just what this business is about, and the pressures playing before 5,000, 6,000, and 7,000 people that you face in the sectionals for Division I. So I think that experience is somewhat invaluable.
Big changes in the Fox River Valley Conference this year. 4 of the 5 Green Bay schools will have new head coaches, including kind of an interesting twist. Casey Zakowski, who is a familiar face to North fans on the Green Bay Southwest sideline, is going to be going to Green Bay Notre Dame, and there was kind of almost a domino effect when coaches started leaving some of those schools. Tom, talk a little bit about, you know, where you see the conference, where you see yourselves in the conference mix, and How unusual is it in all your years of being in the Valley to see that kind of coaching turnover in 1 year?
That's a greater changeover, Dave, than I've seen that in my 25 years at North. This is my 26th. All of them will have the trademark of the head coach, carry on his philosophy. My job is to find out what that philosophy is with the newcomer coaches. As far as the Green Bay Notre Dame situation, they're already used to about 3 weeks of Coach Sikowski, and we'll see what goes on there. In the early season, we've made every effort to get out and see these other teams in our conference, and I kind of told the players at practice last night that I'd give an arrow upward toward a couple of them, and two of them in particular. Green Bay East looks to be very, very certain to challenge, and Green Bay Preble really surprised me on Friday night or Saturday night when they played their game, and that'll be one of our opponents in the first week of the season. Preble, our first conference game. As you may or may not know, if you're on the road to any lofty expectations during your season, you want to get off to a good start. Last year, we went up to Preble and lost a 36-34 game or 34-32. That kind of put us in the hole to start. I hope we'll get off to a start that'll avoid that kind of thing.
You always play, in addition to the solid Fox River Valley Conference schedule, you always play a solid non-conference schedule. Looking ahead just a little bit, the North Christmas Tournament, the Raiders Shootout is always a good time for high school basketball fans, but this year in particular, you've loaded that tournament up. Give us kind of a little sneak preview of that.
So you've got the basketball yearbook sitting on the table here in front of us, but the 4 teams in that tournament are all ranked teams, and I'm talking about Brookfield Central, and they'll be playing the tip-off game against Oostburg. Central, on a last-second shot last year, gave Oostburg one of its 2 losses, and that was a thriller of a game. We lost to Brookfield Central in the championship. Most of their players are back. Most of them were on the Division II state runners-up in football. They're a huge team. Cedarburg, who we beat on a last-second shot in overtime, will be our opponent, and Ben Siebert, who most of the viewers would recognize that name, connected with Elkhart Lake High School. His father, Dr. Siebert, are going to be playing us as well.
Tom, thanks for joining us. Folks, stay tuned. We're going to be right back with some final thoughts. We're going to take a look at some impact underclassmen. We're going to take a look at all-city team, and then we're going to play preseason prognosticators and go a little bit out on a limb and make our own picks. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
This phone's taken.
Son, will this help you?
Maybe the last thing you would do for somebody should be the first.
Thanks. Hey, I appreciate it.
A message from the Credit Union Foundation and your hometown credit union.
They won't leave you for someone younger. They won't notice you've gained weight. They won't fire you. They won't talk about you behind your back. All they'll ever do is love you. Find the love of your life. Visit PetFinder at aspca.org.
This is not a race. On the road to financial independence, the winners are the ones who stay the course. Learn more about securing your financial future and choose to save. It will pay off in the long run.
Well, guys, the interviews are now in the can. We're ready to talk some all-city teams. Let's start with impact underclassmen, though, before we talk about an all-city team. And there's a good one over at Lutheran, Chris.
Yeah, there is. I really like John Decker as part of my underclassmen. These will be all sophomores and freshmen. He's a 6'4" freshman kid. Great potential. He's got great upside, and I know he's the son of Todd Decker. He's been out to Indianapolis to work with some program out there. I like a kid at Kohler by the name of Cody Mackey. He's a 6'2" sophomore shooter. He comes in a long line of Mackeys out there. He may have to play some point guard, which, you know, that's not what Coach Wolf wants him to do, but that might have to be that way as well. We've already talked about Tim Stubbe. He's a sophomore at Sheboygan South. Quick as can be, lightning bug. We've also seen him run around with the football, too. He's really fast. I also like two kids from North. I like Kyle Tetchlog. He's a 6'4" sophomore. He's really worked his tail off in the weight room this year, and he's a great kid. He's just a super kid.
He works a lot on Fridays over at
Grant, he does.
Too.
I like Brian Herman, too. He's the other sophomore over there. There's another super kid and a hard worker guy. And my sixth man, I take Britton Wolf, Coach Wolf's son. He'd fill in as my sixth man. He's just a sophomore, too. He's only comes in at 6'2", or excuse me, 6'4" or something. Go ahead, Dave. What do you like?
I don't know if I can argue with any of those. You know, Cody Mackey is the kind of kid who, even though is only a sophomore, seems like he's been around forever already. Partly because, as you said, that Mackey family has a long line and a long tradition at Kohler. But you know, here's a kid that you start hearing about these kids when they're in middle school, and in Cody in particular, you heard about that from some of those great middle school teams that they were able to put together. It will be interesting to see with them losing their point guard from last year's team how much he's got to handle the ball, and I think that's gonna tell a lot about their season, but about him as an individual as well. And I'm really curious to see Chad Decker at Lutheran, or not Chad Decker, that's the kid at North.
John Decker.
John Decker at Lutheran. Thrust into the starting role as a freshman is always a challenge, but you know, he's got Dad there on the bench to rely on a little bit, and they have some great senior leadership that he can rely on as well. And if he was paying any attention to what Nick Leibman was doing the last 4 years, he had a pretty good role model to learn from. So that's going to be interesting to watch and see him grow and develop over the next 4 years.
Great selections, guys, and I can't argue with any of those either, especially since I didn't make any picks, so depending on you guys. Let's talk about an all-city team. Now, Chris, you kind of went all-county or all-area, which is fine, too. But let's start off with Dave. Who do you got as your all-area, all-city?
Well, I think you start, you know, I think you start with North. North, for now, probably is going to have one of the better teams in the area, and a big reason why is because of Brad Wayner and Chad Decker. The two seniors. Brad is just a quality player, is just an assassin at the end of a ball game. Dan Koopman put it best. He was quoted in the press as saying that, you know, in all his years of coaching, he can't remember seeing a kid who does a better job of not only wanting the ball at the end of the game, but knowing what to do with it. That shot that he hit in the sectional semifinal to beat Cedarburg, I can still see him standing there. He just hit it and stood there and watched it go in and let everybody kind of pile in around him. Chad Decker, it's going to be interesting to see him evolve from coming off the bench to a starting role, but that's a kid that just creates so much havoc when he's in the ball game and forces the action so much. I like Cody Mackey a lot for obviously with the reasons that we've talked about. Jimmy Keller from Oostburg is probably one of the best juniors in the state, highly recruited. Apparently is playing closer to 100% than he ever has in his high school career, which could spell some big problems for the other teams in that league since he's been a pretty doggone good player, playing at less than 100% for his first 2 years. A fifth player, boy, I'm not sure. Chris, you're going to have to help me out.
Well, I like all of your guys, too. I like Brad Wayner, maybe a Division I player, point guard. I like Jimmy Keller, as you said, one of the best juniors. I like him as well. Chad Decker for his hustle and things. I'd put Decker and Keller as my forwards. I'm going to have a midget team here. I'll take the kid at Lutheran, the little guy that ended up shooting 14 points a game. Casey Stokomakovic.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He's 14 points. We saw him a couple times last year against Christian. And I'm going to go out to Plymouth. There's a kid there by the name of Joe Webb. The other night he had 25 points, 6 threes. Maybe not too many people have heard about him. He's a big-time scorer as well. Like I said, he had 25 last night. And my designated three-point shooter, I'll take Matt Horzen in town for my three-point gunner from Sheboygan North.
Matt does readings at church over at St. Dominic's, and he is really a dynamite reader. He's got a nice full voice and all that. And if he shoots anything like he reads in church, North is not going to have any problems with their three-point shooting. Guys, let's move from the individual awards that we had here on the show to conference races, and let's start off with the Central Lakeshore. All right, Chris, we'll start with you.
I think it's Oostburg, hand down. Anytime you get a point guard or a guard that springs up to 6'4", 6'6" like Van Ness did, that's okay. They lost a lot out of last year's squad and going all the way to the state semis, but Coach Brudnick out there has just a great program, and I don't think anybody's going to touch Oostburg. And I think Lutheran's up-and-coming Kohler kids, I think they're a couple of years away. Their sophomores are coming up, but it should be Oostburg hands down.
I can't argue with that. They've won that league 6 or 7 years in a row. And when you're in that kind of a situation, there's a mental thing, I think, with the other teams in the league. You get down to them early. They play that incredibly methodical style where, Brett Flipsy, I think, said it best. You're not really getting blown out on the scoreboard by them until the fourth quarter arrives. But at no point does it feel like they're not in control of the game with that really aggressive half-court defense that they play. Until somebody knocks the king off the throne, they're still the king, and I think that's the situation in the CLC.
I did go out on a limb with my picks again, and I'm going to pick Oostburg also. Let's go to the Fox River Valley, and in reading the basketball Bible, they pretty much picked Sheboygan North. I think they were ranked 9th in the state in Division I. Let's start with you, Chris, again. Who do you see as your picks in the Valley? And I know you're going to nail you down for a pick, but who else do you think might challenge that pick that you have?
Well, I think Sheboygan North, no question. I think a real good quote, Jason Lederman, who was the assistant coach last year at South, is now the athletic director. He said, one reason South will be successful last year is they have a strong guard tandem, and we all saw it last year. Nobody picked them for anything. They did very well. I think Sheboygan North has it this year. They have senior guards that are going to help them, and anytime you got a point guard, you're going to be able to run the show. The biggest problems last year that North had was Green Bay East. They have some really good athletes up there. That'll be interesting to see. And of course, Casey Sikowski at Green Bay Notre Dame, who moved over from Southwest. As I always said, I think he's one of the best coaches there is in the state. That those teams will be tough. Again, Sheboygan South hasn't picked as high again, but I think it's going to take them a while to gel. They got to get Stubbe back and Murphy and all these guys together till they make a run. And by then, they might have too many losses to put something in play. But I don't see a 500 season as an unrealistic goal, as Coach Koopman said.
I can't argue with North either. When you have as many seniors to work with, I mean, you've got Wayner and you've got Decker, but then you've got Adam Schmitz, and it just goes right down the line. Kids who have sectional level experience from last year. That North Christmas tournament this year, as Tom talked about earlier in the show, is just loaded. They're going to be playing great competition all year. He's got the senior leadership. They're loaded, let's face it. I think Casey Zakowski at Notre Dame is intriguing. I would never put anything past them. And I wouldn't count out Manitowoc. They lose an awful lot of talent, especially in Zastro and Yankee, but you just don't count Christensen's teams out of anything.
Well, I also picked Sheboygan North, so we've pretty much coincided on these picks.
You're really going out on a limb this
Yeah, really. That just about wraps up our show. Make sure you stay tuned to TV8, pick up on when those games are going to be broadcast, and hopefully we'll see everybody down the road. Guys, thanks a lot for joining us on the show. Another thank you to our 4 coaches for coming in, and a big thank you to the crew for the fine job they did. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.